you start this solo is with a deep, deep depression of the tremolo bar. You keep it depressed and then play a note. And depress it again as you slide up to the 7th fret from the 4th. So the left hand is going from the 7th fret, and I'll tap on the 14th fret. And then I slide up 2 frets and tap again on the 14th fret. I take my pick and curl it in the index finger to start tapping. So 15 to the 10th fret to the 12th, and the 14th and 15th go back and forth. And almost always when I tap, I have my thumb gliding along the top of the neck for a little support. It's totally weird because we are in E natural minor. And when he's tapping, he's hitting C sharp. And then C natural. He has C sharp and C natural. But the bottom line is, it sounds cool, and it's happening fast. The next line, he does a super stretch that my DNA will not allow me to do. So I kind of worked around it by going... So instead of stretching up to this B, I grab the right hand and hit it. You get that real blue note into the B flat. Whole step bend, right where your pinky was bending. You tap and slide, and when you release, it's almost like your right hand becomes a pick to make the left hand sound. So you got A, G, and then you just open it up to the open string. And then dive with the tremolo bar. I use just an open harmonic because it seems a little more reliable than doing the scrape pick harmonic. I'm going between E and D, and then depressing the tremolo bar just a little bit. Then you do the same move 4 times, but really slow down the pace at the last 2. Then I'm trying to get a pinch harmonic on the A, bending that up on the G string. And then when I first learned this, I slowed it down a whole octave, so it was really growly. And he actually, in the next move, hits a G sharp, which is totally not in the key of E minor, but it's just a very brief slide in and get the hell out up to E. Here I'm doing a sweep pick. Give it a little vibrato there before the final tapping riff. This one's a little stretchy. The right hand is at the 15th fret, left hand at the 8th and 12th. And then the downbeat is here. then jump up to the 17th and 10th. Now I'm sliding up to the G sharp briefly and hitting the top two open strings. And then do a tremolo pick. And when he gets to the D, he just slowly bends that up while he's tremolo picking. And then slide down. I'm kind of doing a sweep pick down to the low E string, and then I slide my hand down. This section is for people that might not know anything about music theory or the mechanics of music. You might be a great player. You might be able to take off songs from records great and already play in a band. But when I start talking in this riff series about numbers, like the first, the third, the fifth, the flat five, the minor third, the flat seven, it all comes from a scale. If I'm playing a major scale, like A major Ionian mode, it's all numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 8 becomes 1 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I've got 1, 2, 3, and I'm talking about a flat third, then this third will go down a half step. If I'm talking about a 7, a flat 7 would be a half step lower. Same with the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Flat 5 is going to be a half step lower. Or a sharp 5, half step higher. When I talk about an arpeggio is just a chord, really, played one note at a time. So if I have an A major 7 chord, and I play it one note at a time, that's an arpeggio. Striking it all together is a chord, separate is an arpeggio. If I'm going to play an E minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio, here's an E minor 7. I'm going to flat that 5. Sometimes when I talk about bending, I'll go by steps. So half step bend, if I'm going to go from here, you want to make sure not to overbend and do a whole step or somewhere between a half step and a whole step. So it's a good idea when you're practicing bends to play the note that is your target first, because you get that in your ear and then bend up until you hear it. Sometimes I'll get into a minor third bend. Sometimes the bends are just very subtle. I'm not even thinking half step or whole step. I'm just thinking of making some kind of movement on the string. Some of the techniques I'll be talking about are sweeps. If I have 3 notes that are lined up on a string, or even 2 notes, I'm going to just take an A major triad for this example. Rather than the right hand going down, up, down, if I sweep it, it means my right hand is going all downstrokes in the same direction. And there's a kind of a subtle angle change in my hand where, check out the right hand if I'm doing alternate picking. If I'm sweeping, if I'm doing upstrokes, I'll angle it the other way slightly. When I talk about double stops, it just means 2 notes at the same time. So, like, sometimes I will bend into double stops. Like, I'm going to bend the C to D and grab this G. A reverse bend means that you do the bend first and then let it drop. So if this is my target note, I'll bend up to that first, and then I don't pick until it's already bent and let it drop. That was a half step bend. And a lot of times when I bend, this thumb is going to be over the top to help me grip. If I'm going to be doing some stretches, the thumb is dead center in the back of the neck. Because if your thumb is up here, it really constricts your movement. But if your thumb's in the back, you can get a lot bigger spread.